Hello there and welcome to this Advective weather video. Apologies for the lack of a web camera today. I'm currently at home for the holidays and it's quite late so I'm recording this video. But focusing on the severe weather threat tomorrow, first of all, we have a slight risk 2 out of 5 for the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. Supercells are likely for this region, a few tornadoes are expected, and some large hail is likely. Moving on to Monday, a marginal 1 out of 5 risk currently in place. Storms are expected to be elevated, with hail being the main risk. Both of these could be upgraded to a higher threat in coming updates, so make sure you stay tuned for our video tomorrow, which will hopefully include any updates. Now, here's the overall pattern for tomorrow. You can see that there is a region where flash flooding is possible across southern US, slight risk of flash flooding in place for that small region. Farther north, there's some freezing rain, winter weather going on. Same can be said for the western US. Critical fire weather. Unfortunately, for parts of New Mexico and Texas, there's a lot of fire weather this week, and we'll be going over that at the end of this video. Focusing in on tomorrow's severe weather potential, you can see that slight risk extends from Wichita Falls to eastern Texas, just north of Waco, but including all of the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. There is a 5% tornado risk tomorrow for that region once again. The wind threat is fairly low, only 5% at this time, and the hail threat is 15%. Now, it's a bit uncertain how much of a tornado threat there will be, which is why it's only 5% at this time. The models are suggesting that if we get some tornadoes, they could be potentially strong, but we're uncertain if we'll see any, and that's likely to become more confident tomorrow. So the day one outlook issued tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon will give you a much better idea of what's likely to happen across the Dallas-Fort Worth metro. But at this time, we can be confident that we'll see some large hail and maybe a few tornadoes. Here's the HRRR model output. You can see that those storms fire across the region and then move fairly quickly eastwards, clears out by late evening, and then those thunderstorms will give a noisy night for parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. But the severe threat will die out by the time they move into the Mississippi region. The threat is focused across Texas and maybe southern parts of Oklahoma. Going on to that marginal risk at this time, which once again is expected to be upgraded potentially to a slight risk for hail. By the time we get to the day of, the models look certainly a lot stronger than just a marginal risk, but it could be something that the models are missing. Storm Prediction Center, of course, does know best. But that marginal risk stretching from central Texas up into Kansas and Missouri, as you can see there. Now, the big day and the main focus of this video. A big outbreak is possible, unfortunately, for exactly the same regions that had a high-risk outbreak with dangerous and deadly tornadoes on Friday. We could see a repeat outbreak, potentially even worse. At least that's what the models are suggesting, and only suggesting right now. There is already a lot of hype going around, but it's an uncertain situation. Regardless, the Storm Prediction Center has said that dangerous, long-track supercells with the potential for strong tornadoes are possible. That is very unusual wording and very aggressive. The potential is very big for this day, but we have no guarantee that it will verify this time. So we have to wait and stay tuned and see what the higher resolution models tell us as we get closer. In addition to the tornado threat, there will be the threat of large hail and damaging winds with these storms. Start preparing for a big severe weather outbreak now, and hopefully you will be safe when we get to Tuesday. There's a look with some of the cities on. You can see that this risk comes from Chicago all the way into eastern Oklahoma, including Kansas City, Des Moines, Iowa, Springfield, St. Louis, and Springfield, Illinois. Most of Illinois and almost all of Missouri in that risk, and this could well get larger as we move forwards in time. So remember to stay tuned to your local National Weather Service office, to the Storm Prediction Center, to your local meteorologists, and of course to us. We will all do our best to give you the information you need to stay safe in this dangerous severe weather outbreak that is likely to occur once again on Tuesday. Now, we don't have any detailed models in range yet because this is still a few days away, so I'm going to show you a couple of different model outputs today. First, we have the NAM for the dew points. Now, you don't have to understand what a dew point is to make sense of this map. Anywhere in blue, thunderstorms are possible. Not severe thunderstorms, not dangerous storms, but a storm producing lightning and maybe some pea-sized hail is possible anywhere in that blue region. Now, the region that was outlined previously, Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, etc., is more likely to see dangerous severe weather, but anywhere in that region you could have some lightning, some rumbles of thunder, some heavy downpours. We'll of course know as we get closer to the day which regions are likely to see the dangerous weather. But here is a different model that shows the probability of seeing conditions favourable for tornadoes. This is the SREF. Now, this was from a few hours ago, so the latest run at the time of recording, and anywhere in red is favourable for tornadoes according to this model. Now you can see that there are a couple of patches in Louisiana and Texas, but the main region is from eastern Oklahoma all the way into Indiana and Iowa. That's quite a large region with, according to this model, an 80% chance of conditions favourable for tornadoes. As we get closer, this region may grow, but certainly it's likely to be a large region favourable for dangerous severe weather, and everyone in the entire Midwest and the eastern plains and even parts of the deep south need to be prepared for a big day. Know your tornado safety plan and know what to do when we get to that day. Now, hopefully people have caught up with the recent high risk and know their tornado safety plan and know what to do when you're in a tornado watch and when tornado warnings are issued. But if you don't, here's a quick refresher. And of course you can go to weather.gov for further information. If you think there's someone who might not have been paying attention the last few days, or maybe they were on holiday and they just got back, make sure they know their tornado safe place, which is a basement or an interior room on the lowest level of a sturdy building. It is not a mobile home, it is not a manufactured home, and it is definitely not a car. If you're in any of those places, if you live in a vehicle or a mobile home, you need to know where you're going to go to be safe if a tornado warning is issued. Now you've got a few days to work that out. Make sure you do so before we get to Tuesday. Now, moving on from the severe weather for the time being, we'll come back to it tomorrow, but there's more weather to cover across the United States in the next few days. A blizzard is expected on the north side of this system that's bringing the severe weather, with substantial snowfall possible from the Rocky Mountains across the plains from Colorado into Canada via South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, and perhaps parts of Nebraska. Confidence is increasing with this storm, with significant snow and strong winds. This could result in some blizzard warnings being needed. As you can see, the likelihood of impact is very high for portions of Wyoming, South Dakota, and Nebraska. Sorry, that's not coming from Colorado, it's coming from Wyoming. I do apologize for that. And of course, as often happens, behind this storm, temperatures will drop drastically, creating dangerous wind chills. So you do not want to be outside in this storm. You want to be in a safe place where you can stay warm after it passes through. Potentially life-threatening if you get caught in the blizzard, and then those life-threatening wind chills arrive while you're stranded, far from a warm room. Looking at the model output, this is the GFS for the next several days. You can see that storm system deepens over the Rocky Mountains and then pushes across the plains. Very deep system, and you can also see that likely severe weather ongoing to the south of it, but focusing on the snow at this time across the northern plains, and that moves up into Canada, weakens and dies out. Go through that one more time for everyone to have a look. You can see that there's that low deepening across the Rocky Mountains. It moves into the plains. Lots of heavy snow on the north side. Potential for severe weather on the south side and the east side. And then that very cold air plunges in afterwards, creating life-threatening conditions for anyone who's stranded outside. These are the current warnings. There aren't many in place for the region because the event isn't starting for a couple of days, but you can see there are a couple of winter storm warnings in effect for the northwest United States. There are also some severe thunderstorm watches and severe thunderstorm warnings, and indeed tornado watches and tornado warnings in effect for northeastern parts of the US and southeastern parts of the US with today's weather, which is close to finishing at this time but moving offshore in the next couple of hours. What you can do with this event, as I mentioned, we could well have some blizzard warnings by day one. Hopefully at the end of the winter most people in the area are familiar with what winter storm warning means, but it means that dangerous travel problems are expected, and you should not try travelling if you are under a winter storm warning. If a blizzard warning is issued, conditions are very dangerous, travel is impossible, you'll be risking your life by going outside in a blizzard warning, stay where you are unless your life is in danger by staying where you are, in which case you should try to contact emergency services and get advice for what to do. After the storm, of course, be careful. You want to stay warm if the power's out, but you don't want to create a fire risk. Keep pets and children away from any space heaters or candles, and try to reduce draft by blocking up the gaps under doors with towels, for example. If you're using a portable generator to supply electricity to your home, use it outdoors and keep it well away from your home, with all doors, windows, garages shut to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Those fumes are dangerous and unfortunately they do kill some people through improper use every year. Once you're safe and warm, check on any neighbours nearby, make sure they're alright, and alert the authorities if something has happened to them. Finally, moving on to the fire weather risk that I mentioned earlier, as you can see, we have 5 days of fire weather for parts of New Mexico, western Texas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, southeastern Colorado, and southwestern Kansas, but primarily western Texas and parts of New Mexico. A relatively small risk today compared to what follows, with a large risk tomorrow, a smaller risk after that, and then some more risk farther on in the week. No risk at this time for Wednesday, but that could change. Now, if you're in a fire risk, very basic things to do. First of all, know if you're in a red flag warning. Hear the red flag warnings in today. These will change as we go through the day and the fire risk shifts around the region. But if you're in a fire weather watch, that means critical fire weather conditions are expected in the next few hours or the next day or so. When a red flag warning is issued, that means fire weather conditions are happening or are about to happen. You must avoid burning, you have to be very careful about any open flames, and dispose of all cigarettes safely and carefully. In these red flag warnings, fires can and will grow very quickly, so do everything you can to avoid fire spreading. Now, hopefully, been able to provide some useful information to you all this evening. That's all for today. We'll be back again with another update tomorrow, covering that incoming severe weather outbreak, the blizzard, and the continuing fire weather for southern parts of the United States. Thank you all very much for watching, and have a good evening.